Well, new estimates this morning are that more than 2,400 Iranians have been killed and more than 10,000 people imprisoned as the government cracks down on protests in the country. Mount Royal University's Nazak Birjandifar joining us this morning. Nazak, thanks for taking time for us. And if we can just start with your reaction to this rising death toll and the continued crackdown in Iran.
Thank you so much for having me. I have to say that I'm actually horrified and heartbroken to hear of the scale of killing and the mass detentions by the Islamic Republic. We are also really worried. I'm also very worried about what comes after the arrests, because what we have seen in Iran's recent history, every time we've had large protest waves, they were often followed by a harsh prosecution, and sometimes including handing out capital punishment. So even if the streets quiet, the violence can continue through the courts and prisons afterwards.
And I suppose what happens now and beyond has a lot to do with how the international community behaves. We've seen the action condemned globally. U.S. President Trump has threatened some sanctions and put some tariffs in place on countries that deal with Iran. But overall, what is your assessment of the reaction from the international community?
Well, the reaction, I would say this time, generally speaking, it's been stronger, specifically from the United States. However, I'm not always sure that the kind of escalating political rhetoric or the, threat of war looming or threat of even more sanctions always help. I mean, my concern is that these external actions, especially the ones that look like the escalation or regime change, can be instrumentalized by Tehran in a way to justify harsher repression or even paint protesters as foreign agents and potentially deepen polarization amongst the protesters themselves. But at the same time, doing nothing also normalizes mass killings. So it's kind of a delicate path for the international community to take. But of course, condemnation has to come from all sides.
How does this uprising compare to what, I mean, we have seen these sort of every few years, I think, for the past almost decade. How does this compare to some of the others that we've seen?
This uprising, it seems that the immediate catalyst or trigger for it was economic or the currency crisis that happened on December 30th, 2025, where the price of rial fell compared to the US dollar exponentially. But the scale of uprising is one of the largest, and unfortunately also the scale of repression has been one of the deadliest in decades from what we are seeing. We see that there are protests going on across the country, and they have also been going on for many days, even though there has been significant crackdown and significant violence. So this is perhaps one of the largest we have seen since the early years of the Islamic Republic in terms of the crackdowns.
And just about out of time, but how do you see this playing out, Nazak?
Oh, it's not very easy to predict, but I can see perhaps three scenarios. Either we see escalation of repression, or we see fractures among the elite in the Islamic Republic, or as the last resort, and I hope that's the last resort, we're going to see escalation of violence and perhaps war with the United States.
Yeah, very concerning, obviously, for Iranians living here and around the world. We'll continue to follow it. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Nazak. Very much appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, that's Mount Royal University's Nazak Birjandifar.